So, good evening, listener. Back with me again in another Western Cultural Civilization podcast. And today's agenda, we will talk about something that happening in the United States, especially in political way. So, starting with, I heard this news from TikTok and from Twitter. Now it's X. That it says that Trump was cutting funding for Harvard University. I heard about that, and then, I'm trying to find out more information about that. So I reviewed. So I found this YouTube videos, and then I reviewed one of the video made by TLDR News Global. It says why Trump is at war with universities. So some of you guys might be wondering what is actually happening in the United States right now, and what is the relationship between this and Trump at war with universities. So through one of Donald J. Trump post on X in April 16, 2025 that says top universities like Harvard have become havens of anti-Semitism and filled with radical left idiots, and therefore they don't deserve to receive federal funds from the government. And here's a thing that I just know from this video also, that Trump hate things about unis in the US. Affirmative action, diversity programs, curricula, transgender sports policies, alleged liberal bias. And then this thing happening, the protest against Israel's war at Gaza that held by a lot of university, and it's not only in the US, it also happened in Indonesia, some of university in Indonesia. But the most prominently, it happened at New York's Columbia University, and Donald Trump labeled this action as pro-jihadist protest, and that make this Columbia University being Trump's primary target for criticizing it as a university that has failed to comply with anti-discrimination laws and failed to fulfill its obligation to protect Jewish students. Which, for me personally, I find it pretty strange and unequal compared to the rights of millions of people in Palestine. But I mean, we all know which side is Trump is aligned with. And this action causes Trump decided to cut $400 million in federal funding for Columbia University and demanded that the university change several of its policies. And with lots of consideration, of course, Columbia University had no choice about that and to comply by reforming its policies, such as restricting masks on campus, banning protests in academic buildings, empowering campus security, and then doing thorough review of curriculum of Middle East program, adopt a formal definition of anti-Semitism, and boost institutions for Israel and Jewish studies. And that's even worse is that Columbia University is not the only one that facing this kind of threat from Donald Trump. At least there are 7 top universities in United States that are currently being criticized by Trump and are at risk of having millions of dollars in federal funding cuts. But here's the thing, the first university that fight against Trump's decision about cutting the funds for university is Harvard University, the nation's oldest and wealthiest university in the United States. And Harvard president spoke out stating that the government had exceeded its illegal authority and saying that no government should dictate what private universities can teach whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue. In response, Trump says that Harvard is a joke, teaches hate and stupidity, and should no longer receive federal funds, leading to a cut of approximately $2.2 billion. So you might be wondering, with all of his decision, what the consequences might be. So if Trump continues doing this, which is a cutting, pressuring, and overpowering other universities, it will eventually create negative consequences for the government's own access to academic and scientific resources in the United States itself. But why? Because the government provides funding to universities, that money is allocated toward education and then research and innovation, which then it feeds back into the public sector, and ultimately it will benefit the United States itself. The problem is that his actions go beyond cutting funding for universities. He's also threatening international students by revoking hundreds or maybe thousands of student visas, especially those students who involved in political activism, such as speaking out for Palestine, which is for the United States government views this action as a form of supporting Hamas. In the end, Trump's decision will cause universities in the United States to lose a significant amount of human resources, of course, and as many prospective international students will choose other universities outside the United States to avoid some risk of getting arrested and then for getting deportation. And also, not only the international students, but academic researchers who are facing major funding cuts, they are also starting to consider to leave the country. So, what are the real consequences if this pressure still continues? On the surface, it's about budget cuts and changing campus policies, but, well, at a deeper level, it's setting a dangerous precedent when a government can use its financial power and the threat of deportation to silence specific voices on campus. What's threatened isn't just a solidarity for our brother and sister in Palestine, but what is threatened are the very pillars for academic freedom and also institutional independence, and the United States standing as a global beacon for knowledge and talent, as you know that. And the effect might not be felt today, but for a long term, the brain drain of top students in top universities and researchers could weaken American innovation and public discourse. So this current situation has actually triggered a major national debate about the limits of free speech, government influence, and the future of academic independence in America, actually. So, well, that's it for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoy, and thank you for listening. Bye bye.